This explainer on adaptive governance and flourishing, the ultimate guide to working on your business, is aimed at unpacking why governance really matters. And we'll also touch on what we mean by the concept of governance. It's a word that is mistaken, that has so many various understandings and meanings. And so we want to cut to the chase and ask the question, what is governance? And governance is essentially a growth enabler. Too often we think of governance as structures and systems, whereas actually we want to show how governance can move a business from friction to flow. That ultimately governance is not primarily about structures and systems that can become red tape. Rather, it is about ensuring that your business does what your business is meant to do. It becomes the enabler, the growth framework for your business. And that's why it's essential for growing businesses, for family businesses, for entrepreneurial businesses, for founder-led businesses, to understand what governance actually is and what it is meant to do. See, the cost of friction is one of the challenges, that if we have governance wrong, or if we don't have governance, if we don't design it appropriately, and every business is to an extent governed, no matter what is in place or not in place, there is a framework for governance in place. But friction leads to lost momentum, where decisions are bottlenecked because they haven't been properly defined or allocated or delegated, where there's conflicting directions, where there's no alignment around why we actually exist and what do we want to do, where mistakes get repeated. We go around the same mountain over and over and over again, doing exactly the same thing to try to do something different. And so signs of friction that we see often: too many meetings, endless meetings around the same thing, those things that get pushed to the end of a meeting and pushed over into the next meeting's agenda, if there is an agenda, those things that come up over and over and over again. Tension between people, because we don't see the things the same way, we are not aligned, we don't understand the common purpose, we debate around strategy because it actually hasn't been worked through. How decisions are made, who can make decisions. Not knowing is in itself a governance framework that is ineffective. And then burnout from constant firefighting. These are some of the costs of friction. And what these do is they do stall growth and innovation. They're like driving with a handbrake on. And we've all tried that and it doesn't work. And if it doesn't, we push ahead with it, it creates lots and lots of damage. You see, governance is less like a set of traffic lights than roundabouts. What we need to be thinking when we design our governance frameworks is, how do we enable, how do we facilitate flow? And the key thing there is that the word governance has an interesting source word. It comes from the Greek word that means to steer or captain a ship. Governance is not firstly about structure and systems. It's about what we do and how we do it as governors. It guides direction and enables purposeful movement at the end of the day. It reduces friction. Well-designed circles in traffic reduce the friction because they enable flow. And so what we need to do is we do that by ensuring there's alignment on purpose and clarifying who decides and how they decide. Some examples where we've seen friction without governance. Growing companies, a tech startup grew but without any delegation of authority, and so control continued to be centralized around the founder. They insisted on approving everything that happened. All innovations, the result, bottlenecks. Ultimately, if you have one person or one key set of people involved in every decision, you are going to get a bottleneck as the business grows, and that's going to result in missed opportunities. The competitors were more adaptive. They had delegated decisions. They obviously held those making decisions accountable, but they moved ahead. And the lesson is, over control is friction, and adaptive governance can lead to speed and agility. We want to go from the red light to the green light. We want to make sure that our governance systems, as circles and not traffic lights, even though I've used those here, are green light events and not just red light events. We don't shiver and shrink back when we think governance. We actually engage and we move forward, we flow. An example of a company that over the years has maintained a good reputation around governance is Unilever. It has constantly refreshed its board, it's got stakeholder input, it's evolved its processes, it's stayed aligned with purpose and change and adapted that purpose as appropriate. the result has been a resilience in the business. And obviously this doesn't stay the same way. We've got to continually, constantly refresh, constantly retain the same values. And possibly some of that will change into the future. But in contrast to the classic of Enron, their static governance failing, they ticked boxes, they had what I call paper governance in place, but there was very, very little real governance happening. Whereas adaptive governance is about the structures and practices that evolve with the business. They are appropriate to the life stage of the business, to the sector of the business, to the strategy of the business. The system facilitates and enables the flow to flourish and the business to flourish as well. It's not about cutting and pasting best practices into a business. It's about designing and forming and evolving best fit over time as the business grows and develops. And why should founders care about this? Well, ultimately, founders whose focus is often on the vision and the product lose sight of the fact that vision and product, vision is achieved, product or services are delivered by the structures that determine how achievable these things are. Structure provides for performance, and that's a critical learning for many founders. It's not just about energy and intent, it's actually about the system that is designed to deliver the vision and the services and products. And so what good governance does is it helps the founders step back and lead rather than micromanage every decision. They step out of being the capacity block or the bottleneck in the system. And they protect the intent. If we can build a system that intends and facilitates the right purpose and the fulfillment of the right strategy and purpose and achievement of the vision and the right performance to do that, it means that even if the founder is not in the room all the time, not involved in every decision, that things move forward. And so entrepreneurial businesses, we want to think early as opposed to late in terms of governing and governance. Family businesses should also care. In a family business, and similar to the shareholding debate, but the separation of the governance of the family from the governance of the business is critical to the health of both business and family. And so separating them out is critical because it can prevent friction in the family, in the business. Clear governance distinguishes what is family from what is business. There's less personal conflict. It objectifies, in the best possible sense of the word, the things that we're dealing with. Decisions become decisions and not personality conflicts. It also helps navigate succession. Too often family businesses hit a wall or a ceiling because there's no one to take it over. Why? Because it requires simply head knowledge, because we've got to know how it does instead of systematizing in a good, healthy governance system the way the business absolutely operates. And those systems and structures could have within them, or should have within them, embedded the family values that flow through into a business's set of values and that align strategy. And so what are the challenges? There are some roadblocks to governing and governance that are important for us to overcome. If governance is really, really important, what stops us from doing it? 3 key things I want to touch on. Firstly, there's this myth that governance will slow us down. Certainly, implementing some key things may require some pause to put it in place, but if those things are well designed, adaptive governance actually speeds up decision making because it creates clarity on who is meant to be doing what, and it holds people accountable. And so decisions don't fall through the cracks anymore because decisions can be made because we know exactly who needs to and how they need to be made. We're too small for a board. We're not there yet. Well, actually, governance as a way of thinking is essential from the very beginning. Even small businesses or startup companies benefit from basic governance practices. Regular meetings to discuss the on-the-business elements, the business model, the contracting structure, the legal requirements that we need to sit within, that are all essential to the survival and sustainability of the business. Overseeing different aspects of the business, especially when we step away. Oversight is important. Information flows. Getting that external perspective. Too often we're in the business, and working on the business is understanding the business in the context as well. And we often think size and maturity are linked, but actually we can have maturity even in the smallest businesses, maturity of governance and governance that works in that context. It's just paperwork, it's just compliance, we're just ticking the box. Now, unfortunately, this is what a lot of governance has become, as the regulatory burden has become in many cases intense. But in truth, Governance is about purposeful direction and accountability, not just paperwork. There is paperwork involved, absolutely, but it's making sense of why we do the paperwork and what is it there to do as opposed to just ticking the box. It helps us make sense of what we need to do and what we don't need to do. Deciding the positioning of the business, even in a regulatory landscape, is critical. And so, what is preventing you from implementing adaptive governance? Is it your thinking? Is it the size or stage of the business? Is it this misunderstanding of what governance is actually all about at the end of the day? And so with that in mind, what I want to do is I want to ask you to take 30 seconds. I'm going to turn my camera off for a couple of seconds and just allow you to think. Rate your business 1 to 5 on the following. Clarity of roles, your decision processes, alignment of purpose, adaptability of plans. Assess yourself, because this is an important part of good governance, is evaluation. And so, where are you weakest at? What is the key issue in your business? That is a friction that adaptive governance can help solve. Is it about clarifying roles? Is it about laying out a decision process that is expected to be followed? And we can mold it and shape it, obviously. Is it about making sure that everybody understands the why underlying the what? Or is it about saying, actually, we may have a plan, but if things change, we may need to change that plan? You see, the key reflection that is important is, where does friction exist, and where else, apart from those things we've just mentioned, where else do you feel the most friction in your business? Is it conflict driven? Is it personality driven? Have you hesitated to put structures in place because that in itself creates stagnation? Is it fear of bureaucracy, loss of control? And maybe to change the thinking is to really ask the question, what positive outcomes could effective governance bring to your day-to-day operations? What will you feel about it? Is it less stress, less carrying, less burnout? Is it functional, faster decisions? Is it sustainability, someone being able to look at your business and say, thing going on here? Recognizing the pain or friction is the very first step in alleviating it. And what to do next? Take some time. Ask the question, what one decision or process in your business is currently causing frustration? What have you reviewed and revised and gone around the same mountain a number of times with? And then outline a simple step. I remember years ago, for me it was a pricing policy. Always being faced with challenges around, what do I charge it? How do I charge it? I put a policy together that said this is what it looks like. And so it enabled me to start the process of negotiation from a fixed point. Is it about scheduling and timing? We want to do something, but do we time box the required elements into our diaries? Is it being attentive to how many people are involved in meetings and what it's doing to their calendars? But outline a simple step-by-step, a policy, who's a clear owner for what decision. If there's lack of clarity in decisions, maybe it's mapping out those decisions and making sense of those as we go forward. And as we go through this set of videos, we'll be highlighting some other key tool sets that can be used. Another opportunity is drop your contact details into the comments and we'll send you a copy. It's an Excel or online based survey that is an adaptive governance health check. It's based on what we call the most urgent, important and expensive governance issues. And then that links to a game plan to say, well, what do we do about that? Or consider dropping us a line and giving us a call. Contact details are on the next slide. And so thank you so much for listening and watching. These videos will continue explaining, unpacking, flourishing, the ultimate guide to working on your business.